Hey everyone, it's Kelly. Thanks for joining me. I am back today with a new layout for the Cut Shop. And this layout is actually part of the new challenges that we're going to have on the Cut Shop Facebook group. Each month, a different design team member is going to host a challenge, and I am hosting the first one. And I'm going to give you a little bit of information about the challenge at the very beginning of this video, and then I'll go more into what I'm doing with the layout and talk more about my photo. So the theme that I chose this month is Go Big or Go Home, and basically that just means that you need to use a cut file in a large way on your project, and it doesn't necessarily have to be a scrapbook layout. It could be any type of project. You do need to use a cut file from the Cut Shop. It can either be from the Cut Shop Etsy store, or it could be a freebie cut file that you've picked up from the blog. So once you've created your new project that fits the theme for this month's challenge, you'll head to our Facebook group and there will be a thread for you to upload your project. So you'll want to look for the designer challenge for the month of August, which is the picture that you saw at the beginning of the video. And there'll also be a picture of my finished layout. And then you'll just upload your new project in the comments underneath that post. You have the whole month of August to participate, so you have until August 31st at 8 a.m. to get your project uploaded, and then a random winner will be selected and they will win their choice of 5 free cut files from the Cut Shop. I think this is going to be super fun. I'm excited to see the different challenges each month, so please make sure that you do head to the Facebook group so you can upload your project. We are very excited to see what you all create. Now for my layout today, I am using the full circle cut file from the Cut Shop, and it is the circle that has the little semicircles within the larger circle. And I am using the Pink Fresh Studio Simple and Sweet collection, and I wanted to match that periwinkle blue that's included in that collection, and I didn't really have any cardstock that matched, so I thought I would just go ahead and create my own. And I used some paint from Dilutions first, and it was just a little too rich. It was not the right color. I tried mixing it with some white to try to tone it down a little bit, but even after I did that, it still wasn't the right color. So I originally had planned on using a brayer and not painting the entire circle. I wanted to have a little bit of the white showing on the edges, and it ends up I have to add so many coats of paint to get it to the right color that I end up covering the whole thing. So it does almost look like colored cardstock by the time it's said and done, which is fine. If I would have had the right color cardstock, I probably would have used it anyway. But I started with that Dilutions paint, like I said, and then when it wasn't the right color, I just grabbed a couple craft paints from my stash and mixed them together to try to get the right color periwinkle blue. Now I was also in the mood to stamp in watercolor, and I have this stamp set from Pink Fresh Studio, and when I purchased it, I didn't realize that it had matching dies, and I have since purchased those dies, but they have not arrived yet. So I do some stamping on just some scrap white cardstock, and then I'm actually going to fussy cut out a few of these floral images to use as die cuts on my layout, and I absolutely love this stamp set. I think that there are so many things that you can do with it, and I know I'm stamping pretty fast here, but I will link to the stamp set in the description box below too, so if you want to head over and check it out, you can. And then I wanted to do some watercolor, and I am just doing this very, very, very messy. I'm just mixing colors together to try to match the background pattern paper that I'm using, which is to the left of the screen, and I'm just doing random colors. I'm going to do some oranges, some yellows, some greens. I think I do some pinks, and I wasn't planning on fussy cutting all of these. I knew that there would be some as I'm coloring them in that I would like better than others, just with the way that the watercolor was going to dry on that paper. And that is just scrap white cardstock. There's no gesso on it or anything like that, so I'm just putting the watercolor directly onto the white cardstock, and I wanted it to be fairly muted, so I'm using a paper towel also. So as soon as I get the color on the cardstock, I am dabbing some of it up just to lift a little bit of that color to make the color not quite so bright and vibrant. Now, because I knew that I was going to be watercoloring these images, I did use black archival ink. It's a waterproof ink, so that way as I'm adding the watercolor to the paper, the black ink is not smearing. And in just a moment, I'm going to dump out these flowers that I did fussy cut, and I'm going to hold it a little bit closer to the camera so that way you can see them in a little bit more detail. I did paint a few of them that same periwinkle blue color, but I don't end up using any of those blue ones on the layout. I think I just end up using 2 of the yellow ones, maybe 1 of the pink ones, and 1 of the orange ones on the layout. So off camera, I did go through the Simple and Sweet ephemera pack just to pull out some die cuts that I thought would work well with the layout that I'm creating. And as I was looking at that cut file from the Cut Shop, I thought that maybe I would add another color paint on top of it, and just to give it a little bit more depth. So I just grabbed a light blue that matches this collection, and I'm just adding it randomly around that circle, and I didn't like it. I thought that it looked better as one solid color. So I end up mixing together that periwinkle blue color again and adding another layer of paint on top of that circle. That background pattern paper that I'm using is probably my favorite paper that's included in the Simple and Sweet collection. And I love this cut file because of all of the semicircles included within that image. A lot of the background paper still shows through, and I love that because I love the little flowers and the little triangles and just the design of that pattern paper. So even though my cut file is very large, you can still see a lot of that paper showing through the cut file, and I absolutely love that. And I can't remember if I mentioned before, but I did size it to about 10.5 inches before I cut it. And I didn't include a design space tutorial in this video because I didn't do anything extra special to the cut file. I just brought it onto the design screen, sized it to a 10.5, and then cut it on my Cricut on the cardstock setting. So now it comes time to start embellishing, and I thought that I would just create a horizontal design on top of the cut file, positioning my photo to the right hand side. And I am going to use that frame on top of my photo just as another layer next to the photo, just to give it a little bit of definition from everything else that's going on the background. Here you can see that I'm grabbing some of those stamped images and also just tucking them in, adding them just like I would another die cut piece. So while I'm working on getting all of that positioned, I'll talk a little bit about the photo. And this is actually a fairly recent photo. It was taken either 4th of July week or the week before. And we were having some crazy hot, humid weather in Indiana at that time. It was over 100 degrees and the humidity was crazy. And we actually were spending a lot of time outside, which is not like me at all. I normally don't enjoy being hot. I don't like being outside when it's humid. I am one of those people who prefer it to be cold and rainy versus warm and sunny. And we were just really enjoying spending some time outside on the patio. Our dogs that we have are big dogs, and we had always had small dogs before, but our big dogs really like being outside regardless of what the temperature is. And we do have a fenced in yard. So we would take the dogs out there and we would just sit on the patio as they would run around and play. And I really, really enjoy iced coffee too. And I had found this new recipe and was making it. I am on it's not really a diet, but I am trying to eat healthy and exercise more, and I found this clean version of an iced coffee and I really, really like it. So we were making iced coffees and we were just hanging out outside and just really enjoying each other's company and just spending time together. So I snapped this photo of me and my husband, and we're just sitting outside on the patio, and I just am scrapbooking this memory on how we were enjoying the crazy hot, humid weather and just enjoying spending time together. Okay, so getting back to actually what's happening with the layout, I pretty much got everything mapped out on where I wanted it to go. And I decided that I was going to layer a few of the die cuts and then also those stamped images underneath the cut file. And then I went around with my sewing machine and just added some messy stitching around the edge of that circle. And I did go around it, I think, 3 times. Now I'm going to come back in with all of those die cuts and get everything arranged. I am going to add a little bit of machine stitching to that photo also, and that's going to help hold all of the layers together with the frame. And then I also added another heart ephemera piece behind the frame. And I did add some foam behind the photo, and now I'm just bringing everything back in and just going to get it positioned where I had it before. And I'm going to use mainly liquid adhesive to hold everything down. I am going to pop up that lemon die cut using some 3D foam circles. I am trying to watch the colors on how I'm positioning these. I had that black ephemera piece on the left-hand side. It is that rectangle shape. I'm going to use that as a journaling spot, but because it was really the only black element that I had on the layout, I did add that black heart for that reason, just to help balance the two sides. And I was trying to decide if I wanted to add journaling with my handwriting or if I wanted to use my typewriter or if I was going to print it on my printer. And I decided to use my computer and my printer because I did have more to say than what I thought I would be able to handwrite in there, or that I would be able to use my We Are Memory Keepers typecast typewriter. I didn't think it would all fit there. These alphas that I'm going to use for the title, they are from the same Pink Fresh Studio Sweet and Simple collection, and I'm going to add it right on top of the frame, and it's just going to be Patio Life. That's what I'm going to use for the title. So I play around with the position of those for a little bit just until I get it the way that I like it. And for my journaling, I've actually really been liking to use just regular printer paper when I print my journaling. For a while I was using cardstock, but I like that the printer paper has a translucent appearance to it, and it's so thin that it's so easy to use. So I just printed it, cut it into strips, and then I'm just using a scrap piece of paper, and I added a layer of adhesive using that tape runner there. And I'm just using some tweezers just to help me get these lined up, and I'm just going to add them right into that journaling spot. And I think I have maybe 4 or 5 lines of journaling. I just tried to condense down what I wanted to say so it would fit within that journaling spot. So I add the date underneath the journaling, and then I am going to come in with some black splatters, and that's just Heidi Swapp Black Color Shine. And I used some packaging to cover up the die cuts and my photo. And when I slid that packaging up, I bumped it into the splatters and one of them smeared. So thankfully the paint was still a little wet from when I applied it to that cut file. So I just added a little bit of paint on top of that smudged splatter, and you can't even tell that it happened. So I was able to fix it, crisis averted. That's one thing about splatters, you just never know what's going to happen. I either add too many or I smear them before they dry, but I love the way they look, so I do continue to add them to my layouts. So here you can see the layout in a little bit closer view, and I am going to bring some still shots up at the end. Remember to head to the Facebook group so that way you can enter in this month's challenge. I cannot wait to see what you all create. If you have any questions about any of the products or the techniques I used, please let me know in the comments below, and I will be back again soon with a new layout and process video. Bye.